What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. First off, thank you so much for tuning in, for checking out the show. Your support is massively appreciated. The only reason that this show exists is because of all of your amazing support. So we truly appreciate your support. I truly appreciate your support. Make sure that you're sharing the show with as many people that you feel would benefit from the show. The goal is to always grow this show and go out there and have a big impact. Real quick though, before we jump into today's podcast, I want to plug our sponsors that make all of this possible. Our first sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp. This is my real estate agent mentorship training program. It's a group training platform. This way it makes it extremely affordable for you. Inside this program, however, I am unpacking my entire playbook. I'm walking you through step by step everything that I do inside my real estate business, everything that I've done, everything I've learned in my 12 plus year career with selling over 5,000 homes, with selling over $1 billion in real estate. And I walk you through step by step exactly what I've done, how I built what I've built, and what I'm doing today to go out there and create this success. But don't mistake the low cost for low value. This is an insanely in-depth, step-by-step program where I'm walking you through, again, step-by-step on how I go out there. My team sells 1 to 2 homes every single day in today's market, continue to grow my business year after year, and how I've been able to exit from selling, exit from actually day-to-day involvement in my real estate team, and create an epic, amazing real estate team that not only sustains but grows without my involvement. So whatever level that you're at, whether you're a brand new real estate agent, you're an individual high producing agent that wants to expand and create a team, or if you already have an amazing team, or you're a broker owner that's looking to step up your internal training, looking to step up your systems, your processes, your tracking, make your business more predictable, this program is absolutely for anybody that's serious about leveling up inside their business. So check us out, www.90daymastery.com. Make sure you use promo code LIVEMASTERY, all one word, all together, all caps. That's going to get you the biggest discount on 90daymastery.com. You're going to see tons of testimonials on there, video testimonials, what's included in the program, the future dates of the program. I do several of these every single year, so make sure to check us out and make sure to jump inside that program ASAP. My next sponsor that makes this show possible is perfectstormnow.com. If you're a real estate agent and you are looking for a lead generation machine website backed by an insanely powerful CRM system that allows you to convert your leads to appointments at the highest possible level, manage all your tasks, make sure that you're effective and efficient as you possibly can be inside your business, transaction management component, all of that stuff. It is hands down by far the most effective and affordable real estate website and CRM program that exists out there in the industry. It's what I use to go out there and sell 650 plus homes every single year, and the system is gnarly. If you're signing up for that program, make sure to use promo code MASTERY, PSN, all caps, all one word, all together. That'll save you the $200 registration fee and get you a great discount. Our last sponsor is REO University. So I teamed up with a good buddy of mine who is the most knowledgeable dude, hands down, that I've ever met when it comes to REO properties. This guy used to work for the banks directly as an asset manager, and he developed so many of the systems that you see that asset managers and asset management firms and banks use today. This guy sold over 11,000 properties, foreclosure properties, as an asset manager. And he and I teamed up with my experience of working with over 35 banks in my career, selling thousands of REOs, plus his experience. We've created just an insane program. Again, REO University, the website is www.REO Mastery University. It's a one-time payment for $997, or you can split that up into 3 monthly payments. This is not a live boot camp like my 90-Day Mastery boot camp. This is something that you have access to instantaneously. We walk you through exactly how to go out there and get in with the banks. So how to get the business, but then how to service that business at the highest level, how to go out there and complete BPOs, how to complete cash for keys, how to make sure that you're insane at your valuations, how to go out there and make sure that you're your asset managers are winning and hitting their goals, key indicators you need to look for, and more. There's 22 in-depth, just amazing, powerful modules that will teach you how to become an REO machine inside your real estate business. Now, if you're like me, I don't want my business to ever be in a vulnerable position, right? I don't care if it's a good market, bad market. It doesn't mean that my business needs to be good or bad. My business can always be great. During a market crash, right? There's no such thing as if the market's going to crash. It's just a matter of when, right? But again, you don't need to put yourself in a vulnerable position. You can make sure that your real estate business is 100% recession proof, and go out there and, of course, generate business, do a ton of business regardless of what's happening in the marketplace. And this is exactly how you go out there and do it. And we walk you through step by step. So check us out, REOMasteryUniversity.com. You can learn more about the program, hopefully register for the program, jump on in. This price will not last long, right? We just created this product, rolled it out several months ago, and just getting in the hands of the consumer, and people are having a lot of amazing success. So again, check us out, REOMasteryUniversity.com. All right, again, you guys, thank you so much for watching this show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to share the show. Make sure to comment. Like us on YouTube. Leave some positive comments. We love hearing back from you guys, and love getting your feedback. Keep kicking ass, and let's jump on into today's interview. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate agents, and straight top badasses out there dominating their space. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, we got another rock star, amazing guest on the show. Our guest today, guys, is a realtor, team leader, entrepreneur, coach, speaker. I mean, this guy's got so much going on. In 2017, his real estate company, his real estate team did 961 home sales, which is just absolutely absurd. That's like 3 home sales a day, right? So I'm stoked and honored to have my friend Cody Gibson on the show, my friend.
Oh, Joshua, thank you so much, man. I appreciate such a great introduction. Maybe the best I've ever had. Almost like I wrote it myself. Good job, man.
Yeah, no, I'm honored to have you on, man. I mean, we've known each other for a while. We haven't met yet in person, which I know we are in.
No, this is it. Yeah,
you guys are putting on a killer event in Vegas that I've been honored to speak, asked to speak at. So we'll meet then. But we've been connected for a long time, a lot of mutual friends, and I've been following you from, on a social media stance, dude. And dude, you're just doing insane, epic things, and so many out of the box things, man. So I'm really stoked to pick your brain on that and just share what you're doing with the audience. But before we get into what you're doing today, dude, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them here in the first place. And I know you've been in real estate for 17 years. So if you were to wind the clocks, like how did this whole entrepreneurship and real estate journey start in the first place?
In the very beginning, I had a couple of friends. I had a job, remember those days, and I had a couple of friends, and one of them called me and said, hey, let's go play golf. And it's like Tuesday or Wednesday, right? And I said, dude, I can't play golf. It's Tuesday. He goes, oh yeah, you've got a job. And like that stuck with me. And like a week later, I'm sitting in his car. We were going to lunch or something. And Joshua, he says, look at this. And I look, and he shows me this paycheck, and it's 12 grand. 12 grand. And I'm like, dude, I've never seen a check for 12 grand. Now I'm thinking, because I get paid every 2 weeks, I'm thinking this dude's making 24 grand a month, right? What he didn't tell me was it was the first check he'd had in 5 months. And so I'm thinking, this is rad, dude. If you could do this, I'm going to kill it. So I quit my job, take a few grand that I had, and become a real estate agent. And I mean, as lame of a story as that is, that really was it. I thought, holy smokes, if you can make that, I'm gonna kill it. That next year he told me, yeah, it was the first check I'd had in months. And I thought, oh my gosh, man. And of course, at that point, it was too late, and that's really how it began. I worked. I was a manager for Kmart before that. I sold some diesel engines, and I did some door-to-door sales for a political lobby organization. And man, I've always been a salesperson. I've always done that, and so selling in real estate was kind of a natural fit. And I got into it for the same reasons probably everybody does. The freedom, the flexibility, the financial wealth. And the problem was it took me a couple of years to figure out that the financial wealth has to come before the freedom and the flexibility, or there's no financial wealth. It took me some time.
Yeah, no, I love it, dude. And thank God that he didn't disclose that he, had
Oh my gosh,
5 months,
yes.
because the journey may have been different, man. So, all right, so you jump in, and dude, I love hearing about those early years, right? Because we're
Sure.
in an industry where 90% fail in the first 3 years. Your
Right.
your average first year agent makes like 10 grand, and this business sounds so sexy and lucrative, but so many struggle with it. And like, what did you do out of the gate to make sure that you didn't become one of those statistics that was dropping out?
You know, ever had your back up against the wall where you felt like you had to perform? Like where you just go, listen, I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what should be done. I just know that I can't do this. I just know that I can't. I have no other choice. And I remember, it was like a Monday morning, and I showed up to the real estate company that I'd been hired at, which at the time was the biggest real estate company in the state. And it was 8 o'clock, and I showed up because to me it was like a job. Well, at 8:15, when the receptionist showed up, she let me in the door, and I found out that morning the loneliest place on the planet is a real estate office at 8:15 in the morning. Like no one's there. It ain't happening. 8:40, the sales manager comes in. Maybe it was like 8:50. The sales manager comes in, and he'd forgotten who I was. And the receptionist is like pointing at me. He looks at me, and he looks at me like with this face. And I think, oh my God, they're not going to hire me. I mean, at the time, I thought that I needed the brokerage more than the brokerage needed me. Like I didn't know. And so I said, well, I'm here for my first day. And I said, oh, okay. He takes me to this desk, and he says, all right, here. And there's like this desk, and maybe your first day seems similar. There was a desk, and there was like a phone book and a phone and a coffee cup with a pen and a pencil. And he's like, all right, have a great day. And I said, all right. 2 hours later, I went hunting around the office to find his office, and I like knock on the door, and I said, hey, Denny. And he goes, Corey, what's up? And I said, Cody. I said, yeah, what's up? And I said, no kidding, man. I said, when do the customers come? And he looks at me and he goes, no, 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 no. I mean, I didn't know I had a job. And the biggest thing I'd purchased in my life was a car. And so when you go to buy a car, you drive onto a car lot, and there's all those guys and gals over there smoking cigarettes, pretending to work, and then they come out and talk to you. So like I thought, well, when do the customers come? He goes, no, 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 you have to call them. And I said, oh, all right, cool. I'll go do that. Halfway back to my desk, I'm like, well, shit, what do I say? I go back and I'm like, Denny. He goes, Corey. And I said, no, it's Cody. He goes, I said, who do I call? And he said, that's why you have a phone book. And I went, oh, all right. And I said, what do I say? And at this point, like he's getting frustrated. I'm like, what do I say? And he goes, you know what? Try saying, hello, do you want to buy a house? And I went, all right. So I walk back to my desk and I start calling out of the white pages. Now, I don't know what the worst 5 hours of my life really is, but that would be really close to it. Like that would be right at the very top of the list. End of the day, it's 5:05. I'm walking to my car, and Denny walks up to me and he said, Corey. And I said, Cody. He said, how was your first day? And I said, dude, it was awesome. Like, I didn't want to admit it was horrible. I didn't want to get canned. And he goes, good, good. Now, here's what he said next. Why I'm telling you the story. He said, Cody, as long as you sell a house a week, you'll be okay. And I went, okay. It was 16 weeks later, I'd sold 16 homes. On Thursday of that following week, I went to his office and I said, Denny, I know it's Thursday and I haven't sold a home yet. I know it's week 17. Can I have an extension until Monday? I've got 2 tours on Saturday. I've got opens on Sunday already lined up. And he said in that conversation, the worst thing that he could have said, he said, Cody, you're doing great. Nobody sells a house a week forever. Because it took me 4 months to sell my next house. The only difference was what happened right up here. When he said, sell a house a week and you're okay, at the biggest company in the state, I'm thinking to myself, all these cats sell a house a week. I got to sell a house a week or I'm not going to make it. They're not going to keep me. And so you find a way to sell a house a week, whether it's knocking on doors, sitting open houses. I mean, this was the year 2000, so we didn't have a bunch of pay-per-click or internet lead gen, though we had the same thing, only it was called the classified ads. And so I was writing these tiny little classified ads for $8 or $10 on Saturday or Sunday that would go in this giant block. Remember those listings? And people would call, and then I would convert them to meeting with me. Same thing we do on the internet today. It's just it was on print back then. So it didn't matter. Though the big thing was what I thought. The moment he said no one does it every for long or forever, all of a sudden I walked out of his office thinking, shoot, Have I been doing this wrong? Am I going to get sued? Are all these deals going to fall apart? Like, what's wrong? And I remember I used to walk in. This was old school real estate. I'd walk into the brokerage and I'd go to the workroom, and on the wall of the workroom was this board with all these names and addresses of new listings and new sales. And Joshua, I remember looking at that board 3-4 times a day saying, you know what? Someone sold a house today. Someone listed one. They're not smarter than me. They're not better than me. They might know more than me right now. They're not better than me. If there's a sale to be had on that board, there's a sale that I could have on that board. And then you go find it.
So how long after that first day, just because I want to make sure I didn't miss here, how long was it before you put your first deal or your first client under contract?
That Sunday.
Okay. So because I thought you said 16 weeks, you'd put 16 deals under
16
contract.
16 sales. Yes.
Yeah,
16 escrows.
Bro.
16 weeks.
And what I love about this is this just proves that, because you jump in outside of going through real estate school, which teaches you the concept, teaches you nothing how to go out there and be successful.
A bunch of terms.
Yeah, dude, you didn't have fancy scripts. I mean, so many real estate are like, what's the revolutionary script? Or they're looking for that magic pill, dude. And it's just get in the office, dude, pound you pounded the phones at that time, but it's just like, do the freaking work. And you said mentally you were prepared, but you showed up every single day. You did the work. You didn't have fancy scripts. And I don't, you're the only person I think I've ever met that put 16 deals in escrow in the first 16 weeks. That's freaking gnarly, dude.
You know, the script that I did have was he handed me the buyer brokerage agreement, and he said, before you put a buyer in your car, get them pre-approved and have them sign this. And I said, okay. And so I used to do this, man. Now, you're going to love this story. I used to come into the office, every morning, and I would hand the receptionist at the front desk my buyer broker agreements. I thought you turned these things in. She was so kind to me. I would come in, I'd be like, all right. Her name was Samantha at the time. I would say, Samantha, here's a buyer listing for Mr. and Mrs. Johnson or Mr. and Mrs. Wallace. And I'd hand them to her, and she would just smile and say, oh, Cody, good job. And she'd take it. All right, cool. And I'd walk to my desk. She probably threw them away or put them in the trash. Like, I didn't know the brokerage didn't even look at buyer listings or buyer brokerages, right? And so have you ever learned something? And once you learn it, even if it is the truth, or maybe it's just truthy, like no one sells a house a week forever, and you wish you could just go back and unlearn it. Well, that day when he said no one sells a house a week forever, I spent the next 4 months wishing I could unlearn that, because it didn't help me. Like, it didn't help me. It was the truth for most people. It wasn't my truth, though, because I thought it or I heard it, I made it my truth and I adopted that. And so when people think about mindset or talk about mindset, that's the best story that I have in my world of my career, to really think mindset. Because, I mean, if I thought it was a house a week, then a house a week must be possible. The second I think it's not possible, then none of these lead gen sources are any good. Nothing works. All the leads are bad. All the phone numbers are bad. No one wants to meet. No one wants to look at homes. No one can get pre-approved. I mean, it's just next of something bad. Now, I did understand the idea of never talking to, I mean, before going into real estate, I'd spent a year selling political lobby organization memberships door to door to businesses. And so I traveled all over Southeast Alaska, and I would go from business to business, knocking on the door, and I would give an 11-page scripted presentation about politics. Dude, I was 18. I didn't know anything about politics, though I knew that I said these things on these 10 pages and asked for a check. They said yes, and I waited. They said no, and I went next door. So I knew that. Like, I understood the idea of numbers. I understood the idea of I have to talk to a lot of people. So when I started getting some scripts and finding them, man, I devoured them. And an agent would be like, oh my gosh, this script is so long. And I'd say, give me that. I'd look and I go, that's one page. One page. I had to give 11 pages, and that was before rebuttals and objections. Like, this is cake, man. And so I think about how we view things. If you think it's cake, it's probably going to taste pretty good. If you think it's not, it's going to taste terrible. Yeah. And I love cake. I'm like a fat kid on cake. I like it.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I mean, it is, dude, 90% of success is mental, right? And so many people just don't spend the time getting that mindset right. So now I love it. And now, do you think, because sometimes, knowing what you don't know is a blessing, like, for example, buyer broker agreements. And Do you think, because it seems like a lot of agents, when they jump into real estate, like maybe they were a rock star in their past career, but they jump into real estate,
Maybe.
there's no accountability. They seem to struggle.
Right.
But that was almost that forced element of accountability that ended up not being true, but you didn't know that. Do you think that thinking the way that you thought, that you had to turn these in and you had to do these things, and that level of accountability helped you excel?
100%, man. I mean, if I could go back to that first 12 months and I could grab that sales manager by the neck and say, listen, what I need you to do is lie to me for 12 months. I need you to tell me that if I'm not here at 8:15, then I might as well have resigned. If I'm not here at 5, I might as well have quit. If I don't turn in X number of contacts every day, I might as well have just quit my job. I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, Joshua, you've done this for a long time. If our sellers really knew what to ask us, wouldn't the listing presentations be a whole lot different?
Yeah.
Like if they really knew, if they said, hang on a second, hang on, I like what you're saying. How big's your database? Hang on, I love what you're showing me. How many contacts do you make per day? Do you have a call center? Are you doing this? How many impressions on your website? How many buyer brokers do you have right now? Like if they really knew the question. Now, it's just you and me right now. I'm kind of glad they don't know the questions.
Yeah.
And if they did, it would dramatically change everything that we do out there in the field. Everything.
Yep.
And it would make us better. And that accountability, right? Like we have this thing. There's almost this cool facade right now, especially in the entrepreneur world or in the entrepreneur realtor world, where we say, oh yeah, something about corporate America. And when we say corporate America, we say it with like disgust, like corporate America is bad somehow. And the truth is, if we worked this job the way corporate America would, none of us would be broke. If we did this the way corporate America works, we wouldn't have an average of 7 transactions per realtor in our country. We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't be worried right now about technology stepping in or venture capitalists stepping in or Wall Street stepping into real estate, because it wouldn't matter. We'd have our fortresses already built. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is, why, the whole team concept is, it's something that is just exploding and really could be the 100% real estate, because, somebody joins your team, that accountability is there, right? And it just forces a whole different level. So, okay, so dude, I mean, you're out there just slaying it. 16 deals, 16 weeks, you're adding a deal a week. So I got to imagine very quickly you hit a capacity. Now, dude, you got a mega team, you're in different locations, you got this monster. At what point did that start? At what point did you hit a capacity and make that first hire?
For those, I hired a transaction coordinator a couple of weeks in. So like 2 weeks in, my first ever closing, I had a transaction coordinator. And I remember calling her name is Shay, and I called her and I said, listen, I was so worried about how I was going to look at closing. I said, would you please call the closer? I didn't even know what that meant. Would you please call the closer and make sure that when I come in with my clients, she pretends like she knows who I am and doesn't introduce herself to me, because I don't want them to think that this was my first one. Because I remember that first year, right? People, I mean, I wasn't asked very often, how long have you been doing this? Though I was asked sometimes. I mean, I was also 20. And so I was asked, and I would always say, oh, I'm still in my first couple of years. I'm like on week 3. I'm still in my first couple of years, which was the truth. It was just kind of a stretch. And I remember saying, just make sure she doesn't act like she just met me. So I always had staff. I always had leverage from the beginning, and I was real clear. And again, Denny had said, listen, there's some things that you probably shouldn't be doing because you probably won't do them well. So just hire this transaction coordinator. I said, okay. Now, at that time, from 2000 to 06 in Anchorage, we didn't have big teams. We didn't have them in Anchorage for sure. And so everybody that I had that I looked at, and what I didn't do well was, Joshua, I didn't look outside. I didn't go looking. I just looked at what was around me, and a mega agent around me did the deal, showed the home, listed the home, negotiated the contract, went to their house and signed the listing, and then might have had someone helping with the paperwork. And so that was my idea of leverage. And that held me back for a long time, because you can only do so much with that. I mean, you're going to hit some ceiling of achievement. And so I thought, well, that was it. Like, well, this is it. This is as good as it gets for me. And so I remember in 06, I was selling, my best year was like 95 or 98 homes. And I was in like 75 to 85 units a year for year after year after year by myself with the transaction coordinator. And I remember in '06 thinking, this sucks, man. I'm never going to make any more money. I'm 5-6 years in doing the exact same thing. I've hit a ceiling of achievement. Unless my sales price doubles, I can't make more money, because that was all I thought of. I didn't realize there was another way of doing it. And so I was flipping homes back then. So I was buying this truck, putting a decal on the side, going to become this professional flipper, hire contractors to do the work because I figured I could do that and have leverage. And that's when I met Keller Williams, and that's when I started looking at a different way. That's when I opened my mind to different things. And then I became a team leader. We opened a Keller Williams franchise in Anchorage. So I quit selling. And the mistake I made there was all the people I'd sold homes to, I just quit talking to them. I took the database I had and said, cool, I don't do that anymore. What a mistake that was. If I can go back and change that, I would, and I can't. So it is what it is. So 5 years later, I'd been a team leader for 5 years. I built an office to 200 people, and I decided I really want to go back into selling. I've been teaching this stuff, and I want to go practice it. I want to go do it. So I moved from Anchorage to Portland, and I started this team in Portland. And I said, listen, I think we can sell 100 plus homes our first year, and I don't think I have to meet with a buyer or a seller. I think we can do it all with leverage. And so we started turning leads. We started turning internet leads. And that was really, for the first 18 or 24 months, man, in 2010, and we did sell 100 homes that year. We sold 104. And I remember those first 18 or 24 months in 2010, 2011, building a team, we were very much a one-trick pony. We were very much internet lead gen. It was like Craigslist was our cash cow. And so that's what we did. We posted on Craigslist. We had, we did the thing that was popular in 2010. We had virtual assistants all over the world that would go beep, boop, 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 beep, boop, boop, boop. And they would have all these addresses, and they would post it 3 times a day. I mean, we would break Craigslist. It was ridiculous. And so we were driving 1,200 to 1,400 registrations a month. You could be terrible at this. And if you've got 1,200 registrations a month, you're going to accidentally fall into some sales. Now, in 2012, 2013, when Craigslist kind of died for that, we went, shoot, we've got to actually go out and work every day. We have to go look for leads. We got to call FSBOs. We got to have a database. We got to do all the things that need to happen. And so, from there, the business kind of did this. It jumped. There was a handful of years where a jump was like this, not like this. And that's where you go, all right, we doubled last year. Okay, baby, we're going to double this year. And then you go, oh, wait, that's not how businesses look. And doubling this year just means not moving backwards. And so then you have this giant rebuilding year, or you have this giant, just building a fortress around what you've got. And so, the business kind of climbed, and we started expanding in 2011. And so I remember we opened our first expansion site in a different city. It was in a different state. And the sole reason we went there, which was a mistake, the sole reason we went there was that it was the only city left in the Northwest that had a platform available for the internet lead gen tool that we were using. So we said, cool, we'll go there. What a mistake, man. I mean, it was a different firm, different brokerage. I mean, just a mistake. And it cut our teeth. We learned some things. We lost money on it that year. Though what I learned that year was worth any dollars that we invested, that we lost. It was okay. Like I'm a firm believer that you work to learn for a while before you can ever work to earn. And so we practiced it. In 2012, we opened another location. In 2013, I think we opened 2. And I really believe in crawling before you walk, and walking before you run, and running for a while before you sprint or marathon. And so we were real slow with it. Then all of a sudden in 2017, we started 2017 with 29 or 30, maybe 31 locations. We ended 2017 with 91 locations. And so it's almost like gradually and then suddenly. And we knew what we were doing. All of a sudden, to be able to launch in a different city or expand in a different city, it wasn't a 3-week or a 3-month ordeal. We just knew what to do. We could launch there in 10 days. And so right now we're in that, we're in that phase right now where we have 152 or 153 partners across the country. We're in 84, 83 cities as of today. It goes up and down almost every week. We're in 80 plus cities right now, 19 different states. And, we're pushing hard, and we're learning what works, and we're learning what doesn't work. And expansion's not been around long enough for anybody to have empirical data. Like, nobody knows, okay, cool, for 10 years we did this, so here's what you want to do. Like, for you and I in the team building world, there's some empirical data from some of the giants who did it before you and I were doing it. And then we did it and said, cool, so here's what we learned, here's what they did, here's how we tweaked it, here's how it works in 2015 compared to 1995 or 2002. And all of a sudden there's data. Well, we don't have that in expansion. And so we're just like, shoot, we don't know what works. And it might work today, but it doesn't work in a different city. Or it might work today and it doesn't work in 4 months. And so every day we're learning and working. And in about 10 years, we're going to find out if what we were doing was smart.
Yeah. Well, what I love about it, dude, is, so many people are so afraid of failure, right? But it's like the one thing that we must experience and experience at a high level to go out there and truly learn and develop into the people that we must become to create that true success, right? I mean, like, I don't know.
I'm afraid of failure.
What's that?
I said, I'm afraid of failure. I came to grips with this a few years ago because somebody made a comment to me. They said, oh my gosh, I want to be fearless like you. And I went, what? Dude, just spend a minute up here. I am not fearless. I am absolutely terrified of failure, like every other human being that walks this planet. The difference, though, is I'm afraid of not winning, and I'm afraid of not doing something fantastic more than I'm afraid of failing. The issue isn't I'm not afraid of failing. The issue is I'm afraid of not doing something significant that's higher than my fear for failing. Therefore, I'm willing to go do this. I'm still afraid of failing. I hate failing. And it's a part of the process. I've come to terms with that. I don't mean to explode on that. I've come to terms with, I'm okay with being afraid of failure. I'm just also okay with, I'm willing to do it to get where I want to go, and the people that I'm in business with to get them where they want to go. We have to.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I
still hate the failure.
Yeah. Well, it's one of these things where I don't want to say it's easy, but it's much easier to figure out what to do. It's very difficult to figure out what not to do. And those failed expansion cities or whatever, every time you're able to dissect it, what went well, what didn't go well, what could we do different? And it's just a part of the necessary path to go out there and create success, right? Like, I don't know anybody that's created massive success that hasn't exponentially failed more than they've succeeded. But the difference is they use those to go out there, dissect those, get better, sharpen their skill set, sharpen their axe, and keep that growth and just keep pushing forward, dude.
Right. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Well said.
So with expansion, I mean, it's one of these things that we hear about all the time, right? And I get asked constantly, dude, do you plan on expand, whatever? But we, as you said, it's like in this beta phase, right? There's very few people. I've only met a few people, including you, that have actually done it well and done it on a successful level. Can you walk us through maybe what your thought process is? Because you really got two options, right? Like, you could say, okay, hey man, we're just going to swallow up all of Portland, as much market share, do our 1,000 transactions there. Right? In one central location, we can continue to expand, right? And maybe do both simultaneously. Like what attracted to you to expansion, and why do you continue going the expansion model compared to just, like I said, just dominate in one location?
That's a beautiful question. And neither one is wrong, right? Neither one's a wrong path or a wrong model, good model, bad model. None of that is there. There's some people out there today that are pushing themselves into expansion, in my opinion, for the wrong reason. It's just the next thing to do for them. And it's almost like the agent who really wants to go on all the appointments and really wants to be a part of every part of the process, though they feel like, oh, I have to have a team to be successful. So they start building a team, and a year later they go, I don't even like this. I'm making less money. I'm not enjoying my life. I don't like what I do. And I don't like what I have. I just went and did it almost like to keep up with the Joneses. And so we're seeing that already in expansion, which is cool. Like, we all do. I've done it too. We've all been there. I'll say though, for me, there's a couple of things. For me, my challenge with just being, no offense to anyone, with just being a mega agent in one city, whether it's 500 or 1,000 transactions, is, number one, it's easier for me to sell 1,000 homes in multiple cities than 1,000 homes in one city. There is some ceiling out there where it's like, all right, you've hit some ceiling of achievement, and the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Like, you can't just get more sales out. You're going to get to 100 is one thing. To go from 100 to 200 might be another. 200 to 400 might be harder. Like, there's just a certain percentage. It's like Starbucks. Starbucks will put a coffee shop in a city, and at some level, they've got all the coffee they're going to sell on that corner. They open 2 corners down. They take some coffee from the first store. Sure, they cannibalize that store a little bit, though they also sell coffee they wouldn't have had. So combined, they sell more coffee. And so that's really how I look at expansion. For me, when it was about building a mega agent team, which is a fantastic process, and my group in Portland is still a mega agent team. It's still run the mega agent model. The problem is, when I looked around in the mega agent world, one person made great money, a second person made really good money, and a third person might make really strong money. Everybody else made this kind of money. When I thought about what we could do in expansion, I thought, okay, well, in expansion, we could actually do something that's so big that the people that I want to be in business with, more of us could earn more dollars. More of us could have a higher income. And so I wanted to build something so big that people could live their life within it and not have to constantly leave it, to where it's like, shoot, I'm doing all I can. Like, I'm your lead buyer's agent, or I'm your lead listing specialist, or I'm doing this or this. And unless I just plow more deals, I can't make any more money. Like, where do I go from here? Cody, do you want to retire? Nope, not ready to. Cool, I got to go. I have to leave. If I can't go do that, I can't do anything else. And so expansion introduced all these different roles, all these different jobs that didn't even exist in real estate a few years ago, where people are earning high incomes in a job that didn't even exist. And that's what was interesting to me, was what could we do next? And for me, I look at expansion as, really for me, since the invent of buyer broker, the realtor life hasn't changed that much. The brokerage life has changed dramatically, from splits to caps to 20-person offices to 600 people offices. The office I own in Portland, we have 300 brokers. We're the largest broker in the state by agent count. And so those things have changed, though the realtor life hasn't really changed. They show homes, they list homes, they sell homes, they hope for money. Though expansion allows us to have this dramatic shift that we really haven't had in the business. And so I could take the tools, the models, and the systems of a mega agent team, and by using expansion, I take all those tools, systems, and models that take us 15 or 20 years to build. I can hand them to an expansion partner in a different city and say, cool, you have this tomorrow. You don't have to spend 15 years to go start a call center. You can be a part of our group tomorrow and have a call center at your fingertips. You don't have to work. That's where I look at expansion. We take the tools of those mega agents and make them available to everybody who wants to work them. Now, there's a trade-off for that. And the trade-off for that is we have to share the dollars somehow. So there has to be an equitable split or share of what we do with the commissions. Though if we can all earn more money, then the share of the commissions becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, it's one of these things, dude, where agents get so damn uptight about commission splits. But dude, how thin profit margins get when you run a mega agent team.
Real thin.
So when you have this system you can just plug into, what I love about it, dude, is, it's like a Jimmy John's franchise, right? Like they're gonna make sure to pick up
Freaky fast.
What's that?
Freaky fast.
Yeah, dude, right? They're going to make sure that you got the right location, right? They plug you into a winning system. Yeah, you got to show up and do the work, right? But there's no guesswork, right? Here's the proven model. There's no guesswork. You follow this, you're going to succeed. And that's why, of course, these franchises are become so popular. And you've created that for team leaders that you just plug them into. It's not quote unquote a true, necessarily a franchise, but it's very similar in that you've got the model. They just plug in and they go out there and operate. So with that, we just had just released Kevin Kaufman's episode like 2 days ago.
My friend Kevin, yes, it was awesome. By the way, great conversation. Like I looked for my black T-shirt and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, and he's not in as many states and cities as you are, but him and Fred are doing the expansion model and doing it very
killing it.
well. And they've got like here in Phoenix, they've got their hub. Right? Yep. Where everybody else plugs into. Is yours similar to that? Where like in Portland, you've got your hub, with your, can you kind of just walk us through what that model looks like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I have so much respect for Kevin and Fred. And it was Kevin and Fred who I partnered with when we started that Facebook group, Next Level Agents. And that's, I didn't take the opportunity early on in the call when you mentioned it. Joshua, we are so excited to have you present there, man. It is awesome what you're going to present, what you're going to bring on stage. The webinar that you did in our group continues to be the highest watched, highest requested. Man, what you did was awesome. So thank you for being willing to do it. It's going to be fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity, man. It's an honor, dude. Like you guys are killing. Those of you that watch and listen, we're going to have a link below to this Facebook group. But, dude, it's the best real estate agent Facebook group. The most content, the conversations, like every one of you need to be in there, and it's friggin' free. So we'll have a link below to make sure that you go out there and join that.
So we have so much respect for Kevin and Fred. And while our businesses do look different, our businesses also look similar. I mean, the higher you go in expansion, it's just like mega agents, right? If you're selling 8 homes a year, you might look real different than the agent down the hall. If you're selling 80 or 800, you probably look similar to people who are selling 80 or 800. Like there's fewer ways to win than there is to fail. And so you just start finding those fewer ways to win. So in Portland is where we have our hub office. So all of our transaction coordination across all 19 states happens from our office in Portland. Our call center, who makes phone calls in all the different states for our partners. And, state by state, there's different laws and rules. And so our transaction coordinators, there's some states they can talk to the seller direct if they're licensed or not licensed, and some states they can't. So we have to follow those rules. And same thing in the call center, right? Some states we can set the appointment. Other states, all we can do is just call and ask some generic questions and then send some information to someone and say, hey, you should probably call this person. They're probably going to move in a year or two. Like, we can't set the appointment. Either way, though, we hold it all in Portland because we can see it, we can touch it, we can feel it, and then we can drive the performance of it. So in Portland, we have the hub. We do all the transaction coordination. We do all the leadership from Portland. Then what we do is we have these regional directors across the country. So there's a regional director in the Southeast. His name is Chad Hyams. And so Chad's our regional director in all of Southeast. So we have the same lines as Keller Williams. It's an easy process for us. And so in the Southeast, Chad has 58 or 59 market centers, offices that he could put agents of expansion into under the United Home Group umbrella. And so Chad's role, and he lives there, is that he puts the partners into those market centers and then coaches them, leads them, holds them accountable, helps them move forward. The hub back in Portland takes care of the transactions and the processes and all the stuff. Though we still have a leader on site. We still have a leader right there in the Southeast. And so Chad's got 30, maybe 35, 37 partners in the Southeast. And his region totally built out would be about 105 or 110 partners. And so, right now he's in a process of building, though in about 18 months or 16 months, he'll be in a process of top grading. Where it's like, all right, cool. So now we're built out, though if you put 110 agents together, someone's always going to be at the top, which means someone's going to be where?
Yeah. Bottom.
There's going to be somebody down here at the bottom. Now, when you're not built out, that's less important. Though when you start building out, you go, shoot, I only have so many seats. Like when we set up our expansion model, and we're a little different than some of my other friends in expansion, which I have so much respect for, our expansion model is a little different in that we put a cap on how many people we put in each office. And so depending on the size of the office, we'll put 2 or 3 UHG partners in that office. If the office is big enough, we can go to 5. We don't have any office where we would put in 7 or 8 or 10. And it's not wrong to do it that way, though we're really clear that we're not duplicating the MREA model in a whole bunch of cities. That's not what we're doing. We're not going to a market center or an office or a city and putting 1 person in and then having 6 buyers agents and 4 listing specialists and 2 administrators. That's the MREA model, and it works really well. And so if you're going to do that, go do that. Though I don't think that's the expansion world. At least it isn't for us. And so what I like, though, is by having a cap on how many partners per office is I think that the 2 cousins that play really well together are scarcity and exclusivity. And so by excluding it and making it scarce, you can only have 4 people in this office or 3 people, which means when you've got 3, someone starts looking around saying, shoot, if I'm at the bottom of these 3, if they want to grow, I have to leave because they got to replace me, which forces them to do more. We're real big in our model about we believe that we're going to push you up or push you out. And either one's okay. We hope it's going to be pushing you up because then we both win. However, if you don't want to go up and you don't want the accountability, we're going to have to push you out, which is unfortunate, though at least you know. Yeah. At least you get it. And so in Portland, we still have the MREA style business that runs almost parallel to the expansion business, which is why we have Portland Real Estate Group in Portland and then United Home Group of blah, blah, blah city all over the rest of the country. So we still run them parallel to each other. They're still under the same umbrella, though they're 2 different companies.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing is about it too, is because you have a cap, right? It's like, look, you're committing to us. We're going to commit to your success. Yes. Right? Because you're delivering leads, setting appointments, you're doing all these things, but you're committing to their success, which it just shows that responsibility that you have to them, right? And your commitment to their success. So I got to imagine that buy-in is just huge. Then from there, like, let's just say, okay, man, you take on this new agent and this new market center, this new area. I mean, is it literally like, hey, man, we provide all the systems, we provide all the tools, we provide all the training, we're providing the leads. You got your call center. I'm assuming the call center setting appointments for them. I mean, it's so essentially all they doing is conducting appointments, negotiating contracts, and then the rest is just handled?
I wish it were that simple. And it feels like with some partners, it is that simple. With others, though, so we have some partners that are in business with us that when they joined us, they were already selling 5 or 6 homes a month. They already had a database of 700 people or 800 people, though they didn't have the infrastructure around it to sustain it or build a wall around it. And so when they joined us and said, listen, I've got these 600 people in my database. What I need to do is make sure that I never drop the database. Like, I'll send out my touches and then I get busy and I forget for 4 months. Well, by being a part of our group, you don't even think about it. Like, it goes out for you. It's automatic. It's there. Or what they'll do is they'll say, shoot, I don't have a very big database at all. Now, our partners are still, it's both. Our partners are still required and expected and asked to go drive lead generation. I mean, if you're a real estate agent today, you ought to talk to everybody in line next to you. You ought to talk to your neighbors. You ought to sit open houses. You ought to talk to people at church. You ought to talk to everybody you know, and everybody should know that you sell homes all the time. On top of that, though, what could we do to augment that, or what could we do to drive more business for you? And so, like with pay-per-click or with internet lead generation, most of our partners wouldn't want to spend the money in pay-per-click and internet lead gen that we can bring in from the side from the beginning. They'll do it for a month or two. The problem, though, is the budget is too limited. If they don't sell 2 homes or 3 homes the first 30 to 60 days, they can't keep paying the bill. It's almost like, shoot, I either pay for this or I pay for my mortgage. Well, if it comes down to that, pay for the mortgage. The difference is together we win more or we achieve more. And so together we can say, listen, we'll buy this and we'll do this. We'll put it in process for you and we won't stop doing it. If it takes you 7 months to succeed, fine. If it takes you 9, fine. If it takes 3, fine. We don't know how to stop paying for it. Does that make sense? Like, we're just going to keep doing it. And so all of a sudden that's our commitment. So it would kind of be, and I've looked at it like this before, it would kind of be like, it'd be like if you wanted to open a restaurant and you're just really excited about opening a restaurant, you're a great chef and you've had this passion, you just don't quite have all the money to open a restaurant, at least not the one you want. And you have this weird uncle that's rich. And this uncle says, listen, Joshua, I heard you wanted to have this restaurant. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pay for the lease. I'm going to pay for the stoves. I'm going to pay for the equipment, and I'm going to buy some of the staff. And you're going to run it, and you're going to lead it, and you're going to be the restaurateur. The difference is you're only going to pay me back for the loan on the nights that you're busy and you make money. On the nights you're not busy and you don't make money, you don't go home, go to bed and go, shoot, how long can I keep this up? I just need you to come back to work the next day. You just don't worry about paying me unless you have a good night. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And that's really how we look at expansion, because our expansion partners, if they don't sell a home 1 month, you better be selling a home. They don't sell a home 1 month, we still pay all the bills. Like, we still have all the infrastructure around them. They only share dollars with us when they have closings. And to be able to operate that model and be able to operate at the expense level that we have, it does cause us to have to push down on growth a little bit and say, listen, we can't bring on that many people this month, or we can't bring on that many this quarter. We still have to operate within a budget. It's like running a sports franchise where you go, shoot, no matter how much talent there is out there, I still have to work within a salary cap. I still have this much money that I can spend, so I have to stay within that regardless. And so we look at it that way, and we're good stewards of the money. We're in 83 or 84 cities. We don't owe any money. We don't have any loans. We don't have any credit card debt. We're absolutely a cash operation. We don't owe any money to anybody, which means we have full control and autonomy of what we do. And as the market continues to shift, and as expansion continues to shift, with the market shift, and with the market shifting in many cities, and then with expansion shifting for us to not have to owe any money, we believe is a secret weapon. We believe it's a competitive advantage because we're just cash. We open and close our books every month. And I was talking about how I wanted to take a loan a couple of years ago, and I'm glad that I didn't. I also looked at some venture capitalist money, and I was close to selling a portion of the company off, and I'm glad now that I didn't. At the time I was like, shoot, how am I going to pay for this? This is the unsexy part of the story. I lost money in 2011. I lost money in 2012, 13, 14, 15, lost money in 2016. Like, I lost money for a long time, or at least what feels like a long time to me. And, nobody wants to hear that side of the story, though it's an absolute part of the process. To grow as big as we wanted to grow, we did lose money. For a long time, I was the lowest paid person in the organization. Even today, I am not the highest paid person in the organization. Now, I hope that someday that could shift a little bit, though I'm okay with it. I'm okay with not making the most amount of money, because it means that we're coming true to the promise of we're going to help people make a wealth and help people make an income that they're proud of.
Yeah. So in those moments, dude, because you got 40 years there where you lost money.
6 years.
6 years, right? So
yeah, I remember them. Trust me.
Yeah. So in that moment, right? Like, what keeps you pushing forward instead of sitting there saying, man, like, maybe this model isn't the right model. I can just focus in Portland, focus on my other team, make a ton of money over here. Like, what keeps you pushing forward with faith that it's going to work out in those moments?
This is where you realize you're being interviewed by someone who's done this before, because you get asked questions that actually matter, and you get asked questions that are deeper than just tell us your production or what you're doing. On some days, I wish I had a flashy answer, and there isn't one. On some days, it was pig-headed determinedness. On some days, it was, I said I was going to do it, and damn it, I'm going to do it. Hell or high water, I'm going to do it. Like, we're going. I said I was going. And even then, when you have pig-headed determinedness, after you're done saying it, you still go back and go, shit, did I really just say that? Like, I really just committed to this again. Like, I just said that again. Damn it. When am I going to learn my lesson, right? There's always that doubt. I mean, there's this, I don't know. People, like, you'll see this amazing person that gets interviewed by someone like Oprah. And it's almost like, they go, well, listen, Opes, it was harder than I thought it would be. It took longer than I thought it would take. Nobody wakes up at the top of the mountain. And so some days it was pighead determinedness. I will say, as the business grew, it shifted from being my determinedness to the determination of who I was in business with.
Yeah.
And that's when we caught a new wave. For a while, it was just mine saying, we're going to make it, we're going to go. Before I knew it, as we grew, even though I was still scared to death half the time, I'm still scared to death half the time. Even though I was still scared to death half the time, the people around me started bringing their pig-headed determinedness. And all of a sudden, their determination built a much bigger wave than mine ever could have. I was listening to the founder of Great Clips, and he made the comment. He said, listen, for like 30 years, I was nervous. For 30 years, I was scared. And he made the comment. He goes, I was afraid as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. And I think about that funny statement. I go, shoot, that's how I feel half the time. We look and we go, great, we made money. We made money in this location. We lost money in this location. We're working well here. We're losing here. To a degree, though, that's the fun part about a business, because you're constantly working on it. You're constantly doing something with it. And it could actually make a difference. It could change someone's life. It could change someone's income.
Yeah, I love it, dude. So, the next question I have is about culture, right? Because like in your Portland office, you got everybody there, and in your hub, you've got everybody there. So when everybody,
sure, we see them.
It's much easier to keep that culture alive, keep that energy alive. But dude, when you got partners 2,000 miles away and they're not seeing Cody, and
correct,
what do you do to keep that culture and keep things going and keep that energy, even though a lot of this is virtual?
It does look different, and there's times where. So, for instance, I'll give you a decent example. Last year, we de-hired a couple of people from our Portland office. We let them go and said we probably aren't a great fit. I called a few of my expansion friends and I said, listen, there's this partner in Portland. We've had to let them go. They'd be a great candidate for you in expansion. And they're like, if you didn't want them, why do I want them? And I said, well, the difference is they'd be a great expansion partner. They're just not a great local MREA business partner. In other words, in our business in Portland, all of our salespeople are in the office by 9 a.m. All the people are in the office. We all do a stand-up meeting at 9:10. We share 5 things we're grateful for, 3 big rocks. We hit the phones. By 11:30 or 12, the office starts to clear out. They're on appointments. If they're not on appointments, they come back. They make more calls. We spend time together. We look at each other. We script and role play and all the things that you would do for an MREA level or mega agent team, which is a little bit simpler to drive the culture. At the same time, there's plenty of amazing real estate agents who don't want to come to your office every morning at 9, that don't want to pound the phones from 9 to 11:30. I mean, it takes more than one type. Like, it's not one size fits all. Now, in Portland, we have to be real careful the type of person that we hire, because we want to see them. We want them to be in the office. That's how we do our business. Out in expansion, though, everything, like you said, has to be virtual. So all of a sudden, it becomes very dependent on webinars, very dependent on phone conferences, very dependent on technology, Wi-Fi, videos. It becomes very dependent on, we use Workplace. We used GroupMe for a long, long time, like the little app GroupMe, and that was great. Though then we had to move to Workplace, which is a subsidiary of Facebook. And with Workplace, that's where we post, hey, just got a sale. Hey, just took a listing. Hey, here's what I'm working on. Hey, how do you deal with this, or how do you handle that? And so that's where we drive some of that culture. Then our regional directors have individual calls every week, and they coach once a week with every one of our partners. We have group calls. We have a weekly development call. We have deep dive series where we do these 10 and 12-week coaching programs just within our own group, very specific to what UHG does, what UHG offers, the tools that we use. And so all of a sudden, you just have to put a whole bunch of value out there. And even then, my man, there's some times where a partner just says, that's not my jam. That's not my thing. I don't like that. And that's okay. It just means that we might not be a great fit, though for others, we become an amazing fit. And so that culture can be determined a lot of ways. For some people, for everybody, culture probably looks a little different. For some people, culture is getting together and going bowling. For other people, culture is we role play and script together every morning from 8 to 8:30, and then at 8:30 we call FSBOs together and expires together, and spirit. Culture looks different for everybody. I'll tell you, for us, culture is accountability. For us, culture is accountability. For us, culture is doing the things that you said you needed to do that you probably don't want to do, so that you can get the things you said you wanted to have. And so we're really clear that you might like being a part of our organization. You might enjoy it. You might like it. Though if we can't push the needle up on productivity with you, then we're a bad fit. That's a bad culture. You can like going to work somewhere every day. You could like who you're with. Though if you can't earn the money you want to earn, that's no culture at all. That's just called a friendship. That's not a business. That's not a partnership. And we're real clear with who we're in business with, that we're partners, and we both bring something to the table. They're not passengers, they're partners. And that means we bring something, they bring something, and together we do something bigger. That's a partnership, and that is our culture. And so it's kind of like, there's a lot of ways to look at leadership. And to a degree, sometimes I think that leadership can be defined in many ways. It could be defined as getting people to, teaching them how to think so they do what they need to do and all that. Though leadership could also be defined as managing promises. And if you said, you know what, I promise I'm going to do these calls. I promise I'm going to go on these appointments. I promise I'm going to sell 5 homes a month because that's what my income needs to be to live the life that my kids want to live and my spouse wants to have, then damn it, we owe you the accountability and the culture of helping you achieve that promise that you made to yourself. It's real easy to say you're going to do a lot of things. I don't know any agent that says, you know what, if I could struggle, that'd be great. If I could barely make it by, that'd be fantastic. I don't know if you like playing golf or not. I like golf, though if I don't go golfing today, it's going to make like 7 or 8 years in a row. So that's about how much I play golf. Though if I went and played today, I promise I'd hit a couple of good shots. It'd be just enough to be like, oh, this feels great. And it's almost like just enough to keep coming back. Well, I believe that's how most realtors live their life. They have a good month and it's just enough to go, oh, I made 25 grand this month. That's true. It's also the first 25 you've made in 7 months. So when you equal that out over those 7 months, that's not so fun. Though it's just enough that we hang on to it. It's the golden handcuffs of our industry. It's just enough, and the promise is just enough that it can be there. Well, what we want to do is we want to even some of that out and say, listen, instead of having this month and this month, we want to have these months. And all of a sudden, we want you to have an income that you can count on. We believe that you can create the income. We believe that you can look and say, I'm going to go list 8 homes this month. It's not maybe, it's not try, it's not I'm going to do my best. I know I'm going to list 8. You know what? Shoot, it might be 7 or it could be 9, but I know it's going to be right about that 8 number. It's not going to be 1 or 8. It's going to be 8, 7, 9. It's going to be right here. That's where we want our partners to be. Though what that takes is that takes a culture of accountability. And sometimes that's not sexy, man. Sometimes that's not fun. Sometimes that's, hey, how many contacts this week? You said you were going to do 110. Well, I got 70. Well, damn it. What was the problem? How do we get you to go do 110? You know, people say they want the accountability until they feel the accountability and they begin to push back on it. And what you realize real fast is that if you're going to be, I hate to use the word, though, if you're going to be a warrior in this industry, you have to make peace that accountability is the only friend you have. It's also the only friend you need.
Yeah.
Now, whoever provides that, and if you can find a bridge to walk that accountability on, you can have anything you want in this industry. And if you want to succeed, if you want to go big in our industry, it's easy. Just look at what the typical realtor does and go do something different.
Yep. Yep. Love it, dude. So then, okay, let's just say I'm down in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'd love to plug into what you guys are doing, partner up with you guys. Am I able to, as a partner with you, still, because we know that identity is so important to agents. You know,
Sure,
right?
yeah.
You know, you guys is kind of like that back end system that's supporting them to go out there and hit their goals, providing the systems, the training, the coaching, the roadmap. But they're still able to go out there. Like I could still go out there and build the Joshua Smith brand, right? And you guys are just that back end supporting system, if you will.
Sure, it's a little bit of both, right? And so with the laws in most states and with them being different in most states, we do work under the umbrella of United Home Group. And so we have people that are Bob Jones of United Home Group or the Bob Jones team of United Home Group. We just brought on, in fact, we haven't even announced it yet. We just partnered with the first team that we've agreed to get into business with, who was already selling close to 100 homes a year. And so far we've said, very graciously, thank you and no thank you to about 6 teams we've talked to that have been selling 60 homes up to about 150 was the biggest that we've talked with so far, because we weren't ready. Like we knew that we would fail with them. We knew that we couldn't provide the systems and models and tools at their level. And then about 8 months ago, we said, all right, I think we're ready. Let's go find somebody and let's have these conversations. Well, we went through the process of career visioning with a bunch and we chose one so far, and we're working on a second one. We haven't announced either one yet. Though that looks a little bit different. Though I look at, like if you look at your computer, you might see a little sticker that says like Intel inside. And the outside of the computer might have one of 8 different brands or 10 different brands. And I kind of look at United Home Group as being the Intel inside. It's like the processor inside. It has a different cover, a different color, a different look, a different widget or whatever. The video's good or bad, or it's all different, though the Intel inside is the same processor. And if we can provide that from United Home Group, I believe you can do anything you want with it. Now, on the street, in the field, the buyers and sellers think that our partners own United Home Group. That's how they talk about it. And that's perfect. I don't need them to know what my name is. Like nobody calls and asks for me. In fact, there's only 2 people that do. It's an attorney or the IRS. Like that's who calls and asks for me because my name's not anywhere. It's not the Cody Gibson team. My face isn't on anything. And, and that too brings with it challenges. There's pros and cons to that model. Though with being a very generic United Home Group name, if I'm a partner of United Home Group, my buyers and sellers, they think I run the thing because to them I do, which is perfect. I'm happy with that. It's their picture on the sign. It's their name of United Home Group. Now the challenge is it does get a little wordy to be Cody Gibson of United Home Group of Keller Williams Realty, blah, 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 blah. I mean, there does tend to be a very long definition. And so far we don't know a way around that.
Yeah. Love it, dude. Yeah. I mean, I'm in a lot of different spaces, right? I mean, I've got 9 total different companies that either I'm the sole owner of or have strategic partners of or within. And I will tell you, dude, the hardest challenge I have ever had in my life between any ventures I've ever been involved in is growing a real estate team. Right? Doing it right, doing it profitable, doing it, and leading the right way. And man, dude, it's insane amounts of work. And what I love about what you have is it allows people to plug into your system, go out there, build an insane business. But it takes all those difficulties out of it because you've already proven the model and spent 17 years proving this model.
We look at it like taking an 8. It's a weird analogy. It's almost like, listen. So Joshua, if we were talking about you being a part of United Home Group, the conversation might be, well, Cody, I can do it without you. Well, here's the truth. If you can't do it without me, you probably won't do it with me.
Yeah.
However, if you want to do it faster with me, that's who we want to be in business with. So we want to take somebody, and it's almost like taking an 8 or 12-year leap in their business. You know what? Yes, you can have all these tools. You can, like we have this value prop where we say, listen, if you're a part of our group, it's worth about $6,000 a month in direct value tools, just direct tools. Well, when does a realtor have $6,000 to put into their business?
Yeah.
That's after making a gross income, paying a brokerage, paying taxes, hopefully paying themselves, and having something left to put back into the business. To have $6,000 to reinvest, you probably have to make about 30. Well, most realtors don't make 30 grand a month. So that's an irrelevant conversation. Though if you join me, I'm going to give you the tools of what that looks like. The problem that we find, though, is that sometimes we hire people and we give them the keys to a Ferrari, just like with your team. You give them the keys to the Ferrari. The challenge is they should be driving a Hyundai.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you realize real fast, I thought you wanted to drive a Ferrari. You said you wanted to drive a Ferrari, though you're driving it like a bike. And all of a sudden, it's not going to work the same way. Like you have to redline that engine. You have to give it gas, and you don't want to. And if you haven't spent 10 years or 20 years or 30 years building it yourself, you might not respect it the same. It might come too easy, or it seems too easy. You made an interesting comment that out of all the businesses that you own or you're a part of, 9 of them, the hardest one is the real estate team. It's 100% true, because the challenge is what we have this dichotomy of, do we work together? Do I work for you? Do you work for me? Who's the customer? Is it the buyer? Is it the seller? Is it the agent? Is it the brokerage? Who's the customer? And all of it can be right. At the same time, the gross earnings can be astronomical for everybody.
Yeah.
And we get to help a lot of families. And I just, I love money. I love culture. I love production. I love seeing someone do something they've never done before. I love seeing people push their own personal growth. And at the end of the day, I also love knowing that everything we do touches families. What we do means that some little kid is going to live in a school district they wouldn't have lived in because they wouldn't have bought a home there, or they wouldn't have known they could, and they could walk to school, and dad could pick them up at 3, or mom could drop them off. I mean, at the end of the day, there's still families and people that drive everything we do. And that's never left my heart. The money has to be there. The families are why it's there.
Yep. Love it, dude. So if somebody's watching and listening, Cody, and they want to reach out to you to learn more about what you're doing and see if you guys would be a fit for each other.
Sure.
Or they just want to, you're doing so many amazing things. I highly recommend that everybody just follow you and see what you're up to and see what you're doing. Where are the best places to go do that at?
Probably the easiest. I'm still, for as unattached as I am to the business, I'm incredibly attached to the people of the business. And so I'm very, very involved on the people side. I'm easy to find. Facebook is real simple. Sending a Facebook message is completely acceptable. It's fine. My email is codygibson@kw.com. Very simple. People can look me up on the web. They can send me a message. They can email me. Myself and my 2 assistants see all those messages. We share them. It's almost always me personally responding. I'm real involved on the people side of the business. If I can be involved on the people side of the business, the people in the business can be involved and spend time on the production side of the business. So I'm real clear on my role, and I'd be honored if you followed me on Facebook or if you shot me a message. I would be honored. I wouldn't take it lightly.
Yeah. And then, as we said earlier, you guys, make sure to join Cody's Facebook group. It's him and 2 other mega producing agents that
next level agents
group. Yeah. And we'll have a link below so you can join. It's a free group. And what I love about it, there's nothing being sold in there. There's nothing being promoted. It's just a way to go out there and mastermind. And I think most of us are in all these different real estate agent groups, right? And out of all of them that I've seen, I said this when Kevin was on the show as well, this is the group that I see that has the most value. Like I've got my group for the GSD Mode group with the podcast. I'm like telling Kevin, I'm like, I'm just watching what you guys do and stealing what you guys do, because the engagement and the level of value in there is insane. So I highly recommend that you guys jump in there as well. So knowing everything that you know now today, going through this whole entire 17-year long journey, if you could go back to the Cody Gibson 17 years ago when you first entered this business, knowing what you know now, and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you feel would just fast forward your trajectory to success, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
2 things. I thought about this regularly. Number 1, I would have hired a coach sooner. It took me a long time to hire a coach, and I played with the idea for a long time. And, I would say things like, I know what to do. I just need to go and do it. Well, that is the battle cry for the next loser. That's what that sounds like. Everybody knows what to do. Man, everybody knows how to have a 6-pack. That doesn't mean that they have one. Everybody knows how to have an amazing relationship in marriage. Doesn't mean they have one. So knowing it up here and knowing it here in the heart where the habit lies, well, those 2 things aren't the same. And it's been said that the longest distance you may travel is from your head to your heart. So I would have hired a coach sooner. I would have had a coach from the beginning and multiple coaches. It took me 11 years to get there, 10 years to get there. It's too long. The other thing is this. I would have created the habit of setting a listing appointment every single day. And I said something a few weeks ago. I was teaching at our national convention, and I stopped the presentation. I said, you know what? I'm convinced that setting a listing appointment with a seller every day has more to do with habit than it has to do with skill. Yeah. It has more to do with habit than it has to do with scripts, dialogues, tools, systems, processes. All those things are important. Setting the appointment, that's vital. We use those tools. Though you think about it, you show up to work every day. If you expect to set a listing appointment that day, you're going to figure out how to do it. And within 100 or 200 days, or who cares how long it really is, irrelevant, you're going to be in the habit of expecting it. You think about your team right now. If you only sold a couple of homes this week, you'd be worried about the profit. Like you would go, shoot, we are losing money. 2 sales this week, we're screwed. Like, what do we have to do? Though there was a day in your career that 2 sales in a week, or maybe it wasn't, for me it was, 2 sales in a week was fantastic. You're like, this is rad, I'm killing it. And all of a sudden, your expectations rise. And so you and I look down and we go, shoot, if we're not selling 30 or 50, or, this last month we sold 92 homes. If we're not selling that many homes, like, we're worried. Our heart starts to palpitate, right? Well, that's nothing more than an expectation. And then the models and systems show up. And so I think it's habit. So I had done those 2 things. And it took me a long time. It took me a long time to figure that out. Hopefully somebody listening figures it out faster. And then you go find another problem and you solve that one because you started quicker. That's what we all get to do by standing on the shoulders of giants. I've done it too.
Yeah, love it. Powerful stuff. And those that are watching and listening, I know I ended every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is a start of delusion. Information is the power. It's taking that information and taking massive action on it that creates the power inside your life to go out there and create the life you truly want and deserve. Cody shared so many insane, amazing pieces of advice with you. Make sure you take something that you learn and take immediate action on it. So again, you can go out there and create the life you know you want and deserve. Right below will be all of Cody's social media links. Again, the group to join the Facebook group. So make sure to take immediate action on that. And Cody, dude, I know how busy you are, man. I truly, truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here. This has been an honor.
Matt, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's my privilege to be here. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you do with GSD, because you're pushing the envelope every day. You're out there creating in a space that very few people ever go. You're doing something that a realtor is not supposed to be doing. And thank you for doing it, because you're blazing the trail for the rest of us. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, no, truly means a lot, my friend. Truly appreciate it. All right, you guys, thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.